weather update. We're forecasting a major severe weather threat for Friday. As you can see, an enhanced risk is out by the Storm Prediction Center. Many ingredients for storms will be in place, and all severe hazards will be possible. I'll have all the details coming right up. Alright, welcome back into another More Weather Forecast video. My name is Beckett Moore, and I am back in the weather room. Took a little break, went on spring break. Not last week, but the week before. Last week was pretty significant. We saw some significant tornadoes in Mississippi from a severe weather outbreak. I was unable to update you guys on that, but I am going to be continuing to update you guys on this enhanced risk out for Friday. So let's get straight into the forecast. And before we do that, actually, I will likely have another forecast video for tomorrow on this as well. So stay tuned for that. We'll have even more details tomorrow. So looking at the Storm Prediction Center's outlook, the Day 3 categorical outlook, we do have an enhanced risk, a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale from Des Moines, Iowa, all the way to the Quad Cities near Chicago, but mainly to the west of Chicago, down towards St. Louis, Hannibal, Quincy, Columbia, Missouri, all the way down to Memphis and Little Rock, as well as Paducah, Kentucky. So a massive enhanced risk. We haven't seen an enhanced risk this big. I think I'm right about this in a couple of years. So this is a big-time severe weather threat. We could see an upgrade to a moderate, but I'm not going to speak too soon. We'll let the SPC, they're very, very smart forecasters, deal with that. But you can see a very large enhanced risk is in place, a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. Now, looking at the probabilistic outlook here, you can see we have an area of significant severe weather probability, including those areas I just mentioned, in that enhanced risk. That hatch area does mean that there's likely going to be significant severe weather in some of that area there. So, again, that just shows that this will be a significant severe weather producer day. Friday will, and we need to be prepared for it if we're in, again, that enhanced risk in this area. Again, we will have more details tomorrow, so I will have more on this tomorrow, but let's get into the details we can look at for right now. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the bulk shear, and this shows how much shear there is in the atmosphere, and this shows how much rotation we can get in these storms. It's a very, very important aspect to look at when forecasting severe weather. So you can see the darker the color, the more shear we have in the atmosphere, and we have a lot of it from Arkansas through Missouri and into Iowa and Illinois. This is looking at around 5 p.m. on Friday. So a lot of shear will be in place. This means there's going to be different winds in the height. There's going to be spinning in a lot of these storms, and with spinning storms we can get supercells, and with that we can get tornadoes. So like I said, this is a very important thing to look at when forecasting severe weather, because shear is important to, especially when forecasting if there's going to be tornadoes or supercells, because again, we will have a lot of it here, and that is the recipe for strong, spinning, intense storms. So again, a big factor to look at here, and we will have that is in place. We can check mark that one off. And then looking at the CAPE, the mixed layer CAPE, this shows how much CAPE there is, and this is kind of the fuel for the storms. This is what the storms fuel off of, and going into around 1 p.m. here on Friday into around 3 p.m. here on Friday, we will have a lot of that CAPE into northern Missouri and into southeastern Iowa here. In this region, that's where we're going to have a lot of instability, which is what CAPE is. But as these storms move east, we won't have as much instability into a place like St. Louis and areas around St. Louis. So could that affect our storms? Yes, we will have bigger CAPE values into northern Missouri and into Iowa. So I think that's maybe where we will have our bigger severe weather threat. But again, this can change. Details still need to be sorted out just a little bit, but again, something that needs to be looked at, and that's why I'm analyzing it here for you, because I think in this area, 1,613 joules per kilogram near Kirksville, Missouri, that's definitely enough. That's sufficient to support intense, strong, very big storms that can cause severe weather here, that can be very severe. So going into around 7 p.m. here on Friday, you can still see we do have into the 500 to 600 joules per kilogram into a place like St. Louis, into Springfield, Illinois. That's, again, a fine detail that may make or break if we're going to see very strong and severe storms in a place like St. Louis. And I know have a lot of viewers watching from there, and I'm from St. Louis, so it's something I will continue to watch very closely. But again, in this region, in the late afternoon into early evening, as these storms come through northeastern Missouri into southeastern Illinois and into parts of western or southeastern Iowa and parts of western Illinois, it will be an area we will have to watch for big time storms, because those ingredients, again, another check mark there, those ingredients will be in place. So now that we're done looking at the ingredients for storms, let's time this out looking at the latest model run. This is going to show us, the latest model run we have from the NAM 3 kilometer. This is what the radar could look like on Friday. Now, this is likely going to change a bit as we get higher resolutions, better high resolution models coming out into Thursday and early Friday. Those runs will show us more than this one does, but this is kind of a precursor to that. It kind of shows us a signal of what can happen. So looking at around 3 p.m. here on Friday, storms are going to be firing near Kansas City and near Des Moines, or to the west of Des Moines. At this point, these storms aren't going to be extremely strong, but they will be discrete, so some of them may be able to produce tornadoes. So that will be something to watch as these storms fire off. Quickly, though, as we go into around 4 p.m., looking here at 4 p.m., and then looking here at 5 p.m., this will develop into a QLCS, or squall line of storms. So damaging winds, hail, and embedded areas of rotation, meaning we could see tornadoes right here near Columbia to the west of Hannibal around 5 p.m. That will be possible. Also, into parts of Iowa, this area right here is going to be an area to watch very closely. I just looked at a sounding for this area. If you don't know what that is, it's pretty complicated, but there is a PDS Tor possible hazard type for this area. That's not saying that there's going to be PDS tornado warnings, but it's possible that we could see tornadoes in that area. Also to the south, to the west of St. Louis, we're going to see storms that could have rotation on them, as well as packing a punch with damaging winds. That's another threat that sometimes people overlook, but is a very big threat, and usually is the biggest threat for most people, because most people don't get that tornado threat. And then down here in Arkansas, by the time we go into 4, 5, 6 p.m., storms will be firing as well. These might even be a little bit more discreet than the ones to the north, so tornado threat, all severe hazards with that as well. But this line of storms, this QLCS, quasi-linear convective system, will be bringing all severe hazards. So going into around 6 p.m. here, looking at 6 p.m. and into 7 p.m., we're still going to have strong, damaging winds into western Illinois, into extreme eastern Iowa. At this point, these storms are knocking on the doorstep of the Quad Cities as well as St. Louis. So this is when you're going to be wanting to tune into the radar and to looking at the radar if you're in those areas right there. Make sure you're listening to your local news. You have a way to get warnings, the severe weather plan, as these storms come through your area. Again, those storms will also be firing down to the south, or they will already have fired, but will continue to move to the east here in Arkansas, towards Memphis here, and towards Jonesboro, Arkansas. But you can see there may be areas of rotation in this line, especially into western Illinois, southeastern Iowa, and northeastern Missouri. I'm not counting everyone else in the area out, but I think that's the spot where we will likely have our biggest threat. This is actually as far out as we can go on the model for right now. Again, we'll be able to go much farther out tomorrow, so more on that tomorrow. But by the time we go into 7 p.m., as again the sun is setting, so that's a key factor that is not there anymore, we will see these storms, I think, start to weaken off, especially towards the St. Louis area. Heavy rain, damaging winds, and hail may still be possible for St. Louis, so we're just going to have to watch the timing, because that really depends. If we get a little bit more faster system here, we could see more severe storms in St. Louis, but a slower system would mean probably less severe storms. Still count on damaging winds, hail, and maybe an isolated tornado in St. Louis and to the north towards Springfield and Peoria. And again, those details can change a bit. But yeah, that's the forecast right there. That about wraps up this more weather forecast video. A little shorter than usual, but we don't have a ton of details yet. We do have a good amount though. So again, make sure you're prepared for this. As always, make sure you have a way to get warnings. Don't just rely on those sirens. Do not just rely on those sirens, because most people don't know this, but sirens go off during the tornado warning. They might go on for 1 or 2 minutes, but then they go off and people go back upstairs, and then that's when the tornado comes through. So you don't want to just listen to sirens. Have emergency alerts turned on your phone, and have a NOAA weather radio if you want one. That's usually for more weather enthusiasts, but I think a NOAA weather radio is a really good tool. I have one right back there, and I listen to it all the time. It's a really good tool. But again, in this enhanced risk for severe weather, make sure you're prepared for that. As always, be prepared. Stay prepared out there. Make sure you subscribe and go follow me on Twitter for more updates. I will have another update tomorrow, and I will see you soon with more weather.